Did you know there was a way to determine a lockback's strength just by looking at it? Well, it's actually not that simple, but general rule of thumb, the shorter a lockback's lock bar is, the stronger it is. There's more to it, there's more variables, but that's the very, very short answer. Technically, this is not a lockback, this is actually a triad lock, but it's still a lockback style locking mechanism. So the exact same rule still applies. If you took this exact same mechanism right here, this same lock bar, and just increased it, you did not increase anything else, just the lock bar, and you use the exact same type of torsion bar, that little black bar you're seeing in the very middle right there, it would not be able to withstand as much stress. Now, you might think that's preposterous, but actually it's basic physics. It actually makes perfect sense. Again, if we have the same exact hardware and the same exact size and strength torsion bar, and we simply increase the mass of the lock bar it is pushing up against, that's literally more energy being divided amongst a larger surface area, a larger amount of mass. So actually, that makes perfect sense. Now, if you also increase the size of the torsion bar, that's another story. But generally speaking, companies don't do that. So if we were to take these two knives, we have a Cold Steel Espada large on the left, and then we have a Cold Steel Voyager extra large on the right, even though they're both pretty much the exact same size. You'll notice a slight difference in the lengths of the lock bar. It's a little bit longer on our Voyager, even though, as far as I understand, they use the exact same torsion bars for both of these knives. So technically speaking, if we're just talking about the lock bars themselves, our Cold Steel Espada most likely is going to outperform the strength of the Cold Steel Voyager. Because again, there's less mass right here, and with the same amount of pressure going up against it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of lockback knives on hand, so this is pretty much the best example I can show you are these two triad locks, but again, the same rule still applies, whether it's a lockback or a triad lock. They still use a lock bar, they still both have torsion bars pushing up against them. They both work the same, more or less. You'll notice on more traditional lockback folders, such as the Buck 110, the Case Mako, a lot of old-timer beautiful blades, they have much, much longer lockbacks where you can depress them all the way down here towards the butt of the handle rather than all the way up here. Those technically are going to be a bit weaker than these. You'll notice they're a lot easier to depress. One funny little bonus right here, let's take a look at the extra large Espada in comparison to the large Espada. Completely dwarfs it, like it's not even close, but you'll notice the lock bars are exactly the same, the exact same length. They did not upscale the length of the lock bar on the extra large Espada. It is kind of funny looking. There's all this handle, this dinky tiny little lock bar all the way up here, but that actually makes sense. If they increase the length of the lock bar and use the same torsion bar, put it somewhere down here, it technically would not be able to handle as much stress, and for such a large knife, I would want it to be able to handle as much stress as possible. So it's actually perfectly fine. I think that they scrunched it all the way up here. Just felt I'd give you a little bit of a lesson on how the lengths of lockbacks affect their strength. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you do not want to miss weekly knife and gun videos, and feel free to support me on Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Mannix out.